Okay, welcome to the Stem Cell Therapy Radio Show. I'm Reagan Archibald, your host, and I've got Annie Ash here today.
Hey guys, so happy to be here.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about lung health, COPD, asthma, all those things.
It's a big issue in health these days. What'd you say? Third leading cause of death in America, or is that worldwide?
Yep, no, third leading cause of death in America. I don't know worldwide where it stands, but all I do know is it's getting worse. Have you ever had asthma or wheezing? I know
I
you've
have.
had colds.
Yeah,
So.
I've had a lot of colds. I've had some exercise-induced asthma at different times in my life. Yes. Sometimes it still shows its ugly head when it's cold out or something. But yeah, or my husband, he's been a long time asthma sufferer. And I see how hard it is and how debilitating it can be.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
What what do you experience when you have asthma? What does it feel like, or when you get the exercise-induced flare up?
It just feels like my lungs start to feel really tight. They start to make a little bit of a whistling noise. Sometimes I can even feel a little lightheaded. You can just feel
Mm-hmm.
your body's lack of oxygenation. And like you're almost working twice as hard to get it's like you're dying to take a deep breath and you just can't do it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yep. I've had patients tell me it feels like I'm trying to breathe with a truck on my chest. It's so heavy, just trying to
Mm-hmm.
take an inhale. You
Mm-hmm.
mentioned it feels like you're breathing through a straw.
Right.
All those things. I mean, I had exercise-induced asthma when I was a kid. Lots of wheezing. I never knew what it was from. I was exposed to a lot of chemicals growing up. And I ate a ton of gluten and lots of processed foods. Even though I grew up on a farm, I mean, it was like I still had way too much access to those types of foods. And when I'd get exercise induced asthma, it would get to the point where I was in a basketball game or a football game and I'd almost be hyperventilating,
Wow.
and it would taste like blood in my lungs and in my
Wow.
throat.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would actually spit out blood. And so, I realized that not at the time. At the time, I was just like, push through it. It's just your lungs,
Yeah.
even though you need your lungs to survive. But for anyone out there who's ever had a night where you feel like you're completely claustrophobic because your lungs are collapsing in on you, this podcast is going to be for you, because we're going to share some incredible things that we've discovered with stem cell therapy, with the COPD, with asthma, just with lung health in general. Now, just as a disclaimer, we're not saying we treat COPD or reverse any lung disease. All we're using stem cell therapy for is to reduce inflammation and regenerate your lung tissue.
Exactly. Regeneration is huge in this process because that's not something, in our current medical model that we're hearing. Like, here's this awesome pill to regenerate. Like, it's mainly just like, here's a pill to mask symptoms or a pill to just help you kind of survive. Like, we're looking down a whole new road and it's really beautiful medicine.
Yeah, very intriguing. And so, COPD is the third leading cause of death in the U.S. And what happens with COPD? That's where you get this chronic bronchitis, and you also get emphysema. And so, the alveoli, those cells in your lungs that actually exchange oxygen with carbon dioxide, those alveoli start to die off, and when they die off, you cannot get oxygen. And so, what happens is patients need steroids, and the steroids keeps that inflammation down, so those alveoli aren't dying off as quickly. The other thing that they get is oxygen, and I can't tell you how many patients have walked into our clinic being on oxygen, not being able to breathe, poor energy, because even when you're on an external source of oxygen, your energy is not going to be near what it would be if you had your own oxygen.
No.
And then at night they have to deal with that. You have to bring a tank with you. You got to worry about explosions. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And it's very debilitating. So one of the things we look at is, well, how can we help these patients? And so we actually just started researching this. And I started researching, well, could stem cells actually help some of my patients who have COPD? And one of the very first patients that we treated with this was about a year ago. And it was our patient who was he was a chemistry teacher up at Utah State University. And then he was also had a chemical business. And I remember meeting with his family and just saying, look, it's new medicine. You're going to be one of the pioneers. And he was more than happy to try it. And we did the treatment on him, and he was able to have a reduction of symptoms by about 85% in the first 3 weeks to a month. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
His energy levels were better than ever. He could walk down the hall of our clinic without stopping. Before, it would be like 5 steps, and then he was wheezing.
Yeah, this is a guy who getting out of the car, he had to take a 5-minute break, and then just getting into a building, another 5-minute break. Like, this was a really severe case, and it was new for us. We were like, what's going to happen? And to see where he is now is just magic. It's so awesome. He's got his life back. He can move, he can walk, he can entertain his grandchildren and interact with his friends and do things he couldn't have dreamed of doing a year ago.
Yeah, and the coolest thing that I'm seeing with him too is he seems happy.
Yeah.
And he's got business ventures still going on. It's really impressive. But here's some studies that kind of turned the light bulb on for me, because we've looked at stem cell therapy for joint rehabilitation. Primarily, we've treated musculoskeletal conditions. But then once we started seeing, man, there's a lot of therapies out there that can help some of our patients who, we get them to a certain level with like COPD or autoimmunity or MS or whatever condition they've got. But now we're starting to see applications with stem cell therapy that goes far beyond just the musculoskeletal.
Right.
And very exciting. So here's a study that was released, and this is an animal study that doesn't always equate over to humans, but in many cases, it gives us a good pointer. But this study was released by the European Respiratory Society. And what they found is a new study has found that stem cell therapy can reduce lung inflammation in an animal model of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, that's what COPD is, and cystic fibrosis. Although still at preclinical stage, these findings have important potential implications for the future treatments of patients. And so I look at that, I'm super excited because, there's definitely some applications going on there that we can look at. You look at another study, and this study, it says researchers delivered stem cells intravenously to the BENAC overexpressing mice at 4 to 6 weeks of age before collecting sample tissues and cells from the lungs at 8 weeks. They compared these findings to a control group that did not receive the mesenchymal stem cell therapy. The results showed that inflammation was significantly reduced in the group receiving mesenchymal stem cell therapy. Cell counts for both monocytic cells and neutrophils, both signs of inflammation, were significantly reduced after the MSC therapy. Analysis of lung tissue revealed a reduction in the mean linear intercept and other measures of lung destruction in the mesenchymal stem cell treated mice, as well as reducing inflammation in the lung. The stem cell therapy also resulted in significant improvements in lung structure, suggesting that this form of treatment has the potential to repair the damaged lung. So that's pretty incredible when you look at it.
Yeah, because really up until now, there really hasn't been a lot to look forward to. Like, there's ways to manage this disease, but really there was no future on regeneration or reversal or at least a good significant improvement. Like, it just is something you kind of manage until it gets worse and progressively, causes other issues. But it's really, there's so much potential here.
Yeah, and here's a human study. So we went through the mice trials, and that's very fascinating, but they were also able to look at the lung structure, which for you to see a structure of lungs improve, that's pretty impressive. So here's a study that was done after testing 349 patients. The Lung Institute has discovered that within 3 months of treatment, 84.5% of patients found that their quality of life had improved. Among other promising statistics, this discovery could change lives significantly. So that's impressive out of 349 patients. Within the pulmonary function results, so this is the same study, within the PFT, which stands for pulmonary function test results, 49.1% of patients tested saw an increase of over 10% to their original pulmonary function, with an average increase of 12%. During the 3 to 6 month period after treatment, patients naturally saw a small decline in their progress, with their quality of life scores dropping from 33.5% to 33%, and the quality of life scores from 84.5% to 81.7%. So this is just with one treatment. What we've seen with COPD, asthma, lung issues, usually we monitor, depending on the severity, Usually we want to administer another treatment of stem cells at either month 3 or month 6, depending on how severe the case is.
Definitely. And we also want to add in a lot of nutrition support and all of that. Like, we don't always think about the gut lung relationship, but, if you have markers for leaky gut or things like that, it can cause a lot of mucus production, which will slow down your lung function. So, we like to approach this, sometimes with multiple treatments with stem cells, also multiple treatments with different, gut restoration processes. Meditation is wonderful. If you meditate on a daily basis, COPD patients can see up to a 20% increase of oxygenation. Also, reduction of stress. You add all that stuff in, and it takes out inflammation, and lung function just skyrockets. So it's a beautiful harmony of therapies that we can offer our patients to help, give them the quality of life back and give them a bright future.
Now you've trained hundreds of people in respiratory therapy. What are some of the major differences in people? What can they do on their own? So someone comes to the clinic, they get stem cell therapy. We'll jump into some of the herbs and nutrition, but what are some of the things that you saw that made a difference for patients who had lung issues?
So a big thing that I see is just reducing stress out of your life is really important. So I taught a meditation class for COPD patients. It was called the Better Breathers Club. It was awesome.
Cool.
But they've done really significant studies on just deep breathing and deep oxygenation to try to get your circulation going better. And so, like I said before, you can increase lung function by 20 or so percent. Also, I know we'll jump into this, but nutrition, eating a clean diet, getting off glutens, mucus producing foods, getting yourself in a healthy environment. I mean, we're so overexposed to toxins in our world today, sadly. So making sure you're living in a place with good air and clean food and clean water. I mean, keeping the liver clean, of course, too. Our poor little livers are just so burdened in this day. But I think as just far as where I've come and my approach with the patients outside of stem cell is really just meditation, yoga, stress reduction, and really focusing on returning the breath to the body. It's so powerful.
Beautiful. Yeah, so all great things. Some of the studies are showing glutathione is a very powerful detoxification agent. So one of the things we recommend is glutathione, seleniums, and other things. So we will do glutathione injections for our COPD patients. Another application of it is using glutathione through a nebulizer, and that can also help reduce some of that inflammatory symptoms from the COPD. So, if you can, look at stem cells, that's the regenerative factors. It's going to the growth factors that are contained in the umbilical cord tissue or the amniotic tissue. Those growth factors and cytokines can tame the tissue, get rid of some of that inflammation, but then glutathione is another adjunct therapy that we want to continue to do so the lungs fully heal.
Isn't it the body's master antioxidant? I feel like I've heard that before, right?
That's it.
Oh, I've had some glutathione injections, and it's magic.
Yeah, they are powerful powerful antioxidant, and even looking at genetics to find out are you producing enough glutathione. It's very easy to test your MTHFR to see are you as your byproduct of methylation, is it more glutathione or is it more homocysteine? And so that can also be one of the tests we would run if you've got COPD. So here's another study that found Cordyceps, Astragulus, and Ginseng, all powerful. These are considered the three treasures in Chinese medicine, three adaptogenic herbs. But a recent study published in the Journal of Complementary Therapies in Medicine highlighted therapeutic ginseng benefits. Panax ginseng, the ginsenosides, active components of ginseng, appear to inhibit processes related to the development of COPD. So pretty powerful there. N-Acetylcysteine, NAC is what we like to call it, much easier to pronounce than N-Acetylcysteine. Using this with glutathione is bulletproof for lung health and lung function. So what we found is that NAC, or N-Acetylcysteine, helps decrease the severity and frequency of asthma attacks and improves the overall lung function by increasing glutathione levels and thinning bronchial mucus. So yeah, for all those people who are eating a bunch of dairy and sugar, your gut's out of balance, N-Acetylcysteine might be a good way to get rid of some of that mucus. Glutathione fights against oxidative stress in the respiratory tract, which can make NAC a powerful and effective natural treatment for COPD.
I love that because like my husband, like I mentioned, has asthma. And when we keep his diet under control, like keep him off of dairy and gluten and things like that, he doesn't seem to suffer. He can go months without any symptoms. And we, of course, we did some food allergy testing at East West, and that really helped us kind of solidify those markers. But I think it's one thing, like, that we're forgetting in medicine is, like, we're talking about the gut, but the gut affects the lung. And so if we're not looking at all of these systems and how they work together holistically, we're really, I think that's where medicine's falling short. So, we, by treating the gut, can help calm down symptoms of COPD or calm down symptoms of asthma, including stem cells in that and regenerating and restoring these cells. Like, it's just powerful, powerful medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, if you are interested in, even trying some N-Acetylcysteine, you can buy it over the counter at most health food stores. Use about 600 milligrams at bedtime. Selenium, you can use about 400 micrograms daily. It's also good if you've got thyroid issues or males who have low testosterone. Get yourself some selenium. It's densely available in your Brazil nuts. But it's the micronutrients of selenium is critical in about 75% of all your detoxification pathways. So pretty powerful stuff. So if you have issues breathing, if you have asthma, COPD, if it's gotten to the point where that inflammatory cycle is not calming down, consider stem cell therapy. It might be something that could really help reduce the inflammation, regenerate some of those damaged cells and tissues. And then there's some other things that we'll train you on when you come into the clinic. So we would just encourage you, if you're looking for help, looking for answers, and if you've got the mindset that you're willing to make the changes necessary to get the results you're looking for, then just simply call our office. Let them know you watched the show, you're watching, or listening to our podcast, or watching our YouTube show, and we'll help you out. The number is 801-582-2011. No matter where you live, we can find either a clinic to help you, or you can simply just fly into Utah or drive here, and we'll help you out. So
yeah, we treat patients from all over the states, and we have four or five clinics in Utah. So we're widely available to any type of patient who's looking for help.
beautiful. All right, thanks, you guys. So make sure you subscribe to the show. Send this to anybody who you think could use some help or some new guidance for their lung issues or COPD or asthma. And we will see you on the next show.